Me ayudó porque descubrí ahí la improvisación. La improvisación es algo que yo pienso que cada músico del estilo que sea, del clásico, del flamenco, de cualquier otra música, debería aprender, porque la improvisación te da mucha libertad y a la vez te da mucho conocimiento de dónde estás tocando y cómo estás tocando, y qué armonías están en cada momento, ¿no?
So what Paco's saying here is that every musician, it doesn't matter of which style he plays, either classical or any other, and of course he says that every flamenco player should go into the improvisational path, to the path of improvisation, because it's improvisation what will give you freedom and knowledge. He didn't say that you become a repetitor of notes, or someone who just repeats notes played by others. As it is in classical music, one plays notes that were created by others. So one part of the thing is very important, and this is the inner message of his philosophy, that by playing improvisation, then you become free.
Me ayudó porque descubrí ahí la improvisación. La improvisación es algo que yo pienso que cada músico del estilo que sea, del clásico.
Doesn't matter the style.
Cualquier otra música debería.
So you see, here he says.
Es algo que yo pienso que cada músico del estilo que sea, del clásico, del flamenco, de cualquier otra música debería aprender, porque la improvisación te da mucha libertad y a la vez te da mucho conocimiento de dónde estás tocando y cómo estás tocando y qué armonías están en cada momento, ¿no?
So this is the path to follow. is not flamenco. This is first of all to understand, because when you say we are not playing flamenco, we are playing jazz, certainly you're not defining what flamenco is, first of all. Of course we are not playing jazz here, we are playing flamenco, but we are playing the modern flamenco of Paco de Lucia style. And Paco de Lucia was the one who innovated with experimenting, bringing different tools to make richer our music, flamenco music. But not that we are playing jazz here. In fact, we are not playing bebop here, or autumn leaves, or giant steps, or anything, not at all. And the fact that Paco was such a great genius to make this evolution on the guitar, which changed for good and redefined what flamenco is nowadays. And hopefully you understand this. The thing here is that jazz doesn't, to play flamenco doesn't mean to play two chords, right? But one thing here is that generally the Kitsch conception of this thing, of the flamenco, is the españolada of Viva España and Olé, right? Which means this. And anything which does not sound like that, it may sound jazzy, as you say, or to jazz, but this is not jazz really, not at all. That's the difference, and here this is the subject, because you ask, what's fusion? And fusion is not confusion. Careful here, because Paco wants to use the flamenco music as a tool, not as an end in itself. Therefore, let's say that if I use in jaleo, playing like what I was just playing now, in the jaleo rhythm, which has a basic rhythm, structure of flamenco, not of jazz. Now what I will play, of course I will not play here a pentatonic scale, or I will not play these things, right? I never use pentatonic scale. In fact, I know, but Paco also never want to use it. And it's a bit a forbidden topic somehow, until you understand advanced harmony, use these tools, because you may ruin the style also. Here the thing is, what you can implement into flamenco, which does not ruin the style, right? Means which is still flamenco, but modernized, we can say. Right? Of course, I consider myself an avant-garde musician, but I'm not playing jazz at all. I don't know how to play jazz. In fact, I never play jazz. I have friends who play jazz great, right? Even great masters from which I learn a lot, like John McLaughlin, so forth, right? But those are just players. Now, I wanted to observe that just at the beginning of this video, I posted this thing because this is very important. It's Paco himself saying that there are two things here. One, the most important one, and Paco says every musician, doesn't matter which style he plays, but what to speak of course he said every flamenco player, because he said there, doesn't matter what he plays, and of course flamenco also. If you're a flamenco player, you should go towards the improvisational path. Towards the improvisational path. He said that because through this, in that realm of improvisation, of creating music on the spot instead of repeating notes created by others, what people play generally is just falseta thing. Right? And the falseta is one part of it, but this is not the all. This is not the all in all, because Paco changed that for good. Right? Before Paco de Lucia, the falseta thing was the only thing, and improvisation in flamenco was very limited, very limited, because there were not many tools. It was played in 4 chords only, and very rudimentary things. Sometimes in the rhythm section there was some improvisation there with the last game like that, but very primitive. And Paco brought all these elements to allow us to open this towards the world music thing and to make flamenco, dignify the flamenco guitar actually, not to alter it. In fact, he said, I have to go away from, as soon as he recorded Almoraima, he has to go to live to Mexico, where he lived more than 25 years. I will post at the description of this video the link with the newspaper interview, how he himself is saying, I want to work in the jazz realm to bring some of these elements, make rich my music, but here I cannot do in Spain that, because people is attacking me non-stop since I had success, and I have to be like apologizing here as if I'm doing something wrong. He says that, and this is very relevant to remember, because of course this so-called traditional thing will be opposing these views. Why? Because first of all, they don't have the technique to play this stuff. Because to improvise, you are naked there. You go naked to the emptiness that you are confronted with. Now your repetition of notes is zero. It's not valid there anymore. Therefore, now you have to create on the spot and create something interesting and attractive, right? And hopefully different to other musicians' creations. So therefore, this is a very hard task, in fact. But Paco himself is saying there that the path to follow is the improvisational path. That will give you, he said, knowledge, and it will give you freedom. Two things. He didn't say, if you could keep playing falsetas and playing the same of what you don't even realize it's the same, because everybody does it, and because everybody does it, this majority consent, which means nothing, by the way, I'm following that, then that doesn't mean one thing if everybody does it or not does it. Here what we are studying is the Paco de Lucia's style. And this is very especially, it's a specialty of music, this thing. This is not just flamenco. It's not flamenco, in fact, in that sense. Right? It's Paco de Lucia's style. I will post also the description what's the difference between traditional flamenco and the Paco de Lucia contribution. Because that is much bigger than flamenco itself. Now, what is flamenco? First of all, because you say that sounds jazzy or that's not flamenco. Now, what is flamenco then? What is the Kitsch stuff there with the hat and dots? That's not the that's not the flamenco. Define flamenco as a primitive stuff only because it has 3 chords or melodies or falsetas played over and over all the time, the same thing, and at the end you will keep repeating notes created by others. So Paco said, go to the improvisational path because that will give you freedom and knowledge. And he said knowledge of how you are playing, not what you play, how you are playing. That's what he said. Nowadays, if you go so much for the shape of the thing, which by the way, just to label the styles, like this is rock, this is jazz, this is bossa nova, this is flamenco, this is that. Just by going labeling styles, that's not the way to go to become a learned scholar in music. Not at all. Because music is beyond these frontiers, it's beyond these limitations that you are thinking music should have or flamenco music should have. And of course, the tradition opposed Paco, so much so that in fact this same thing, the same thing that some people is saying to me, you are playing jazz, or this sounds jazzy, or this sounds like jazz, is the same thing that they, 40 years ago, traditional people told Paco. You will read it there in the description. I will post the link with the translation of the important parts, and then you have the scan there of the newspaper in Spain right away after recording Almoraima. He had to go away from Spain because he said this is unbearable to be here, because it's so retrograde, this stuff. This is just, I cannot live like this. I need fresh air and I need to work with freedom. And therefore knowledge and freedom, you will not get it by repeating the same thing over and over, by repeating falsetas. He didn't say play falsetas or play my pieces as classical music and then you will get freedom and knowledge. He didn't say that. So this is very important, but it's a very good question in fact, because to get to the fusion realm, you first need to know the elements, intrinsic elements of the flamenco music. right? Because if I choose, say, in alegrías or in bulería or in tanguillo or in any style, he never turned down the form of the basic structure of rhythm, and then inside that, then he implemented new chords and created new ideas and new venues that expanded this thing at the point that great jazz musicians could play with him, like John McLaughlin or Chick Corea and people like that, right? So it's not that he was playing jazz. He said it there. Just listen what he's saying. As he said, I never played jazz. I play flamenco only. But the improvisational path is the path to be followed, because that will give you freedom and knowledge about how you are playing exactly. How, not what. What you play, this is the labeling business of the narrow-minded Kitsch people. And therefore, this we are, of course, here, almost everyone is like this here in Spain, in my country, or anywhere else. And curious enough, this thing that these flamenco pretenders or so-called pretender people, because they don't know even flamenco well, to start, they cannot say this is the purism, static purism. This is not pure flamenco. This is that. That's just labeling. First of all, we are not defining what flamenco is, and second, we don't live anymore in the 50s or in the 40s or in the 70s or even in the 90s, right? We're in 2015 and things have to evolve, right? So therefore, that's why Paco is so difficult to approach, because if you approach it the wrong way or thinking this is mixed with jazz, that's not mixed with jazz anything here, not at all. That's a separate discipline. But if you are used to listen only the Kitsch version of Spanish sound, right? Then of course you are used to listen the same repetition of notes and 3 chords, and as soon as you listen 5 chords, then you feel weird. But that's no problem, because Paco included minor melodic, minor harmonic, whole tone scale, other different scales which Saricas and other players never imagined existed. Right? And thanks to him, this music now is a current universal language. That's the point. Because the flamenco is more than what these limited Kitsch people think is. It's not just a regional music. This is como dicen, patrimonio de la humanidad. Right? It's in a set of humanity, this thing. And great musicians like Mozart, Beethoven, others, Igor Stravinsky, Juan Sebastian Bach, etc. And Paco, himself, Ruben, Lucia, other people, Manuel de Falla, of course, and Albeniz, and many others who were great stalwarts of the musical composition arts. They brought something for humanity, not just for the region of Jerez de la Frontera. That's the Kitsch stuff. They are selling these concepts. I know it very clearly. But we are not, as far as for us is concerned, we want to have knowledge and freedom. And even if we play for fun, because best players are players for fun, by the way. This is not about being professional or not. No, my students, most of them, play for fun. Just like me, I also play for fun. I don't play for money, nor anyone is paying me now to answer this question. I would be taking my time and charging after for the question. No, I am not doing that, because I am not doing this for money. I'm doing it for music and to honor the presence of this great musician who was our preceptor, Paco de Lucia, and he brought these elements now. And now it's very sad if someone thinks still this is jazz. This is not jazz, this is flamenco, but this is a flamenco of the avant-garde style, right? Which means that to not alter or put an element which will distort the style, then you need to know rhythm, harmony, technique, many things. For example, the secondary dominance. The flamenco music is harmonically, you can see Paco himself saying that, it's coming from the Andalusian cadence, which has 4 chords. Let's say in A minor, first minor, flat 7, flat 6, and fifth 7, flat 9. 4 chords. Then from here, Paco included also secondary dominance, 5th of the flat 7 and 5th of the flat 6. And also substitute dominant, 5th of the flat 7 and 5th of the flat 6. And the 4 minor, before, long time ago, 4 minor degree, the chord 4 minor was not there, but you may remember that in this piece, that's G minor, that's a 4 minor of the key, which is D minor here. Therefore, this, from that point on, 1976, historically, this is the fact, Paco innovated with this stuff of the 4 minor instead of the flat 6 chord. And also 4 minor on 4th inversion, on A flat, namely with the flat second on the bass, as a substitute of the degree flat 6. Since that happened there, this is a big change, now it changed the rules also. You need to know what you are doing when you play a melody over these chords. What's the most suitable scale for this to describe melodicalities, right? And then just because people in flamenco is very ignorant, this doesn't mean that we have to be ignorant to be flamenco. No. Just because I know what chord is this, and this is the 4th degree with 11 and with the flat 9 on the bass, and it's a minor chord belonging to the D minor key, that doesn't make me lose the feeling of playing emotional or to play the emotional. Actually, the fact that I know these things, it helps me. That's what is giving me knowledge of what I am playing. That's what Paco said there. So the thing is that these extensions, the extensions of the chords, like 9 augmented altered chords, 9 augmented, 4 augmented, and all that, this Paco introduced these things melodically and harmonically to flamenco. And those may be used only for the substitute dominants, which behave like moving half step, half tone above the chord we are going, while the secondary dominants solve to a perfect 4th descendant. Right? So therefore, if I just to play you the idea for you to know what's that. We play first minor, then 5th of the flat 7, flat 7, 5th of the flat 6, flat 6, and then 4 minor, and 5th, 7, flat 9. That, right? And if now I play it with substitute dominants, right? Here we could use a chord that has 9 augmented. And I don't ruin the style, look. Right? But if I use the same 9 augmented there over the secondary dominants instead, I almost ruined it. Not almost, I really ruined it. This time, just because, why? Because I am in ignorance to that point, to those rules there, which he used on his discography. Therefore, unless you become knowledgeable, first of all, you cannot discuss this topic unless you really become at the level of being able to discuss it. Here, the fact of saying, just like, look, if you go and say quantum mechanics, or if I want to argue with Einstein about this thing, I have to be also same qualified like him in mathematics and in physics to be able to present an argument. Otherwise, I will just be a laughable guy there trying to argue with Einstein these things, because I don't know of that, right? So it doesn't matter. I cannot go and say, well, this is my opinion, that's how I feel it. Yeah, but you are in ignorance, man. You are not saying this thing based on knowledge. Therefore, first you acquire knowledge, and then you will understand why these things happen harmonically in history, and in fact in the history of music. When Igor Stravinsky presented Secreto Printemps, this thing, La Consagración de la Primavera, Rite of Spring, then people throw tomatoes at him in 1920, around 1920. Why? Because it was too much on the future of this music, and now it's considered the greatest thing, right, on contemporary music. So similarly, this Paco de Lucía music, if you acquire knowledge, then you will get what's the idea. Otherwise, if we just want to follow the cheap Kitsch version, then that's another thing. I have nothing against these Kitsch people also. We are surrounded by them, yeah, but then so what? I have to still strive to get knowledge and freedom in music. And because if you do not acquire knowledge, then how can you say even an opinion about this topic? Right? It's like if I now want to discuss how to do heart transplant. So do you know the procedure to do that? Are you a physician? No, you don't know. You just, no, I just was passing by and this is my opinion about this device. What? Wait a moment. This is just laughable. So that's the people telling you these arguments. That's what I'm saying, that you don't be confused by them, because they will tell you just a nonsense which is baseless actually, and saying this is flamenco, this is not flamenco. What is flamenco, first of all? When someone again because they told you that, you said it in the email, you told me that they told you here in Madrid that, then you just answer back that please define what flamenco is first. You're saying this is not flamenco, now please define it. What's flamenco for you? Because now we will come to subjectivity, and then it will come, otherwise what I will say will not match with your concept of what flamenco is. Right? Therefore, and by the way, we are not playing traditional flamenco, of course not. Right? We're not doing. We're not doing that. Algo de alegría. We are not doing that. With resting the thumb and with this posture. We're not playing that. Even to do that properly, you need to have knowledge. Right? So knowledge is liberating. That's the conclusion of it. So if you acquire knowledge, listen what Paco is saying there, then there is no problem. That's why I laugh on these people. The people saying this nonsense thing, this is laughable. It's just when you have, you will be just, it's like a hilarious movie, this comedy thing. You will just laugh at that because it's absurd. It's just pointless and makes zero sense to give an opinion about the topic that you ignore about. And then put a label on Paco, this is jazz. Paco will say, oh, that's not flamenco. How do you dare to say that? I challenge them many times, and in fact they fear me because they cannot argue based on just an envy or an useless argument. But they cannot defeat our position of what Paco contributed and what he portrayed, how he made this music evolve for the future of humanity. Okay, that's my answer. I tried my best to solve the question. If you have another further question from here, don't hesitate. I am, in fact, my music and my whole life, I dedicated 30 years of my life to explore these artists. So I know about the topic, and I am willing to answer you any question you have regarding this, if this inspires you and makes you play better. Because my success, with all students, and my success is to make you play better and be more inspired into music. So don't let other negativity people come with remarks like this is jazz, this is that. This is labeling very cheap concept. That's not knowledge. And then acquire knowledge and play. You play the style that you want to play. If you want to play rock, what's the problem? Right? So if you want to play jazz, then play it. If you don't want to play the Paco thing, you want to play the last century flamenco, play it. It's a museum piece, right? But if you want to do it, what's your problem? And also don't argue with them, because they are beyond point of repair. So much stepped into ignorance that they do not know they are in ignorance. That's the problem. That's the real problem of this thing. Just like the other day I saw a cartoon it was a fish inside, of course it was a cartoon of a fish, and the fish had this cloud of thinking. And he said, what the heck is water? Because he lives there inside, he never realized that it exists another universe outside of water, right? So similarly, people that is so much stepped into ignorance, right? They don't know they are in ignorance, obviously. And of course they will not like what you say about this modernization and the avant-garde line of Paco and Lucia and all this, they would not like it, obviously. So don't waste your time. They are beyond prepared because they don't have knowledge. That's why. And therefore you don't be confused and you don't lose your inspiration in what you are doing. And you follow the style. Chick Corea told me that. This I learned from him. You don't need to, you should never listen to others, what you should play this, you should play that. No. You play what you like to play. If you like one style, then do that. Don't let others to decide for you what you like. And if you like the Paco style, then here we are. That's why I am answering you this. Okay. Have a very nice year, 2015. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you.